Hi friends, it's Deanna Williston from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and I'm coming to you today with a book review. It's another biography of John Bradburne, but it's completely different than the others, so let's jump into this. As you can see, there's lots of great pictures they've used with permission of the John Bradburne Memorial Society, and honestly, this picture kind of says it all. It's not the regular hardcore, like readers, historians biography. This is done differently. It is, let's see here, it has his date of birth, it has that it's by a friar minor, and it was published June 2020 by Franciscan Missionary Union. It is dedicated to John Bradburne's niece, Cecilia, and if you're familiar at all with the John Bradburne Memorial Society, that's Kate's mom. She spearheaded most of the work Cecilia did on the John Bradburne Memorial Society, getting involved again with Metemwa and the cause for sainthood. Typeset and printed in Ireland. Of course, the classic John photo there. And again, we join straight in to this new format. The photos are set, and then there's different little lines of poetry over here of John's to go with them to set the stage. So it's two little excerpts from John Bradburne, and then a little quote from Pope Francis, of course. And it starts out, a prophet is a person speaking out what God particularly wants to say, though barely knows the man what he is about. He's a trumpet for the Lord to play. And another little line from John Bradburne's poetry, which again we know is all available at johnbradburnepoems.com. He says, consolidate the longings of your heart into one love, and strong will prove your art. And here in the Pope Francis quote, it says, Pope St. Paul VI, in referring to obstacles to evangelization, spoke of a lack of fervor that is all the more serious because it comes from within. How often we are tempted to keep close to the shore, yet the Lord calls us to put out into the deep and let down our nets. He bids us spend our lives in His service. Clinging to Him, we are inspired to put all our charisms at the service of others. And that really sets the stage for this book about John. There's a little preface here. It lets you know how big Zimbabwe is compared to Ireland. That's very important because this book is written by an Irish friar for an Irish audience. And they bring in people from different places. It starts out, the Chinese people remind us that 1,000-mile journey begins with the first step. The Shona people of Zimbabwe encourage us to take such a step. John Bradburne was a man on a lifelong journey, and he ended up to his place of resurrection in the Metemwa leper colony in Zimbabwe. It says the biographies they used in writing this book, as well as their own notes. Let's see here. The contents, very easy to read. The drone overview, an ocean vast, deep and wide, 3 stones, Laudato Si, St. Francis and John Bradburne harmonize, holiness, fruit-bearing maturity, and a postscript. Chapter 1, the drone overview, is very much like it sounds, and you can see it's laid out more of like a magazine style or a blog style. It's got little pictures, interspersed quotes, poems, and that is very much how it's done. It is very much a drone overview. See, like this page here is all in italics with the photo, but then we go back to our regular set, right? So it's very much a magazine style, and it'll talk about something and be like, oh, in this story, and it goes off. It lets you go off into that little tangent, and then you come back. Here's actually a huge block quote from Didier's book, The Vagabond of God. Note that there are 2. If you're talking about the books, there's The Strange Vagabond of God, and that's by Father John Dove, one of John Bradburne's dear friends. But there's also The Vagabond of God by Didier Rance, the French historian. 2 completely different books. So the one by John Dove is very much written by his friend who was in Zimbabwe off and on, and just even their time of India. So it's very much a biography of a friend, a very dear friend. Didier's is more history in it. So like when I read Father John Dove's, I had to go get a history book on Zimbabwe to read with it. I had to stop and read that first and refer back to it to get it. Didier's kind of combines those 2 ways. And this one is more, I would say it's an overview book. It goes into lots of little stories. So here's one about Father Pascal. So there's lots of little personal stories of the Irish fathers. They throw in, like this one here is on Chronos and Kairos, and it introduces the concept in a short paragraph. Then it's going to talk about Saint Damien of Malachi. Then it's going to talk about Father Kolbe in the Auschwitz concentration camp. Then it's going to talk about Mother Teresa. So it jumps in Saint Gianna Molla. So they're really jumping in, and then it pulls it all together. So lots of little bits. You can see lots of little bits. So if you just have a few moments to read, sit and read something, this is going to be the one that's for you. Yeah, because it's little bits, lots of pictures as well. It's super easy to read. The print, I think, is Times New Roman. It's probably around size 12. So it's not huge, but it's not small. Pretty easy to reading. It's not written difficultly at all. There are some sections in italics that may be a little bit harder for people. That's really large block quotes they've put in italics, which can be, I know, difficult for some people. But as a whole, this book is going to be more accessible. It's going to be very accessible to a variety of people. I mean, even this, it's just one poem on a page, right? And then across, they're talking about the Middle Ages. Okay, because it's St. Francis on one side, they're talking about the Middle Ages on the other. And then they're talking about St. Elizabeth of the Trinity. That quote by St. Francis was actually from the earlier rule of St. Francis. So lots of works brought in here. They're not fully developed. They're not going into it really deep. So this book could be a real stepping stone to others. Oh, I had been telling one of the friars recently about John and the Eagle. So that story is in here. And again, you can see what it's like over here. A bunch of little poems. This is all just poems. Yeah, those aren't quotes from other people. Those are little bits of poems of John's that would go with that. Again, very accessible. The pictures are really large. Like if you look at the pictures on the web and all, some of them are small, maybe a little bit harder to see, but they've made them very large and accessible for you in here. So this book, if you need an introductory book, if you really haven't encountered John Bradburne before, this one has a lot of great little personal stories. It has a lot of personal stories. It puts the poems in a way that makes sense, that go more with the photos. Sometimes they go more with the history. These ones really go with the photos, with the story. It's really well done for an overview book. Here's the work cited, credits. See, and then it's going to refer you to the big places here, right, that we've all talked about. Yeah, so I mean, that's it. It's a great introductory book to John Bradburne. I think you're going to pick out themes that you want to look at more, and you can jump onto the John Bradburne website, of course, to do all that. If you are interested in this book or any of the books, you can buy them from the John Bradburne Memorial Society, and that's just www.johnbradburne.com. Again, Bradburne has that E at the end. That's the only little tricky bit there. Yeah, that's it. So it's a great introductory book, super easy to read. You can read it in little one-page increments or something. You don't have to devote a huge amount of time. Yeah, great introductory book. God bless, friends.